Today we're going to be looking at 3 tips for the Make Noise STO. It's one of the main sound sources in my system in addition to the DPO, and it's a very flexible oscillator. Its few outputs kind of belie the complexity that you can get here, and these tips are just here to help you get the most out of it. There are other videos that go over the fundamentals, so we'll just dive into a couple of tips. The first tip is to get the STO to operate in low frequency mode or sub-audio rates. Some oscillators, like the IntelliGel Dixie or the first oscillator on the DPO, have a switch that allow you to switch between audio rates and sub-audio rates in order to get an LFO. The STO doesn't have a direct control for that, but all you have to do is add a negative DC voltage input in the 1 volt per octave control. We'll be doing that using maths, so first thing we'll do is we'll route output 3 into our 1 volt per octave input. And then we'll take the final output from our DPO. Turn that down. So here's our fold control. And this is what we'll be modulating with the STO. So from the STO, we'll take the sine wave output. We'll put that into our fold control. You can hear that's operating at audio rates. So this is about as slow as this STO can go, but now we're going to add the negative DC offset. And that's about as slow as we can get it. So just adding that negative DC voltage to the 1 volt per octave input gets us quite a bit slower control voltage from the STO. So now you have another LFO in your system. So the second patch relies on feedback, routing the STO back into itself. And the way we have it set up now, the STO's sine wave output is playing a simple sequence from our sequencer, which is just off screen. Nothing too special there. The trick is we're going to take the sub output from the STO and feed it back into its own linear FM input here. So let's hear the sequence again. And then introducing some of that through the attenuator, you get this really nice kind of dirty bass sound to it. Now keep in mind, even though it's a linear FM input, when you do this with the feedback patch, the higher you go with your index, you end up a little sharp. So you can knock it out, but you get a really neat tone from this, and you can move this around. And then since you're relying on the sub output, you can even continue to modify this patch. So what we'll do is we'll take an envelope or an LFO signal and we'll put that into the sub gate output. So now our maths is modulating the speed at which the sub output is being turned on and off using the gate. You get some kind of blurpy, almost echoey effects. And all you're using is the STO and a little bit of external modulation. The last tip is more a piece of general advice, especially for anything that has an attenuator on the input. In this case, we're going to be looking at the shape output from the STO. So right now, without the shape control turned up, you basically get a sine wave. But as soon as we raise the shape control, we get the nice wave folding effect, which is a big part of the character of the module. Now, as soon as we put control voltage into this input, this becomes an attenuator. So in this case, we'll take channel 4 out of this maths. We'll turn it all the way up. Nothing's happening because this is acting as an attenuator. And you'll note that it always goes back to 0 because it's basically only attenuating the signal referenced to 0. And in fact, even if we were to take another bipolar LFO input, like say from the DPO, it's like it's you're getting the rectified signal right. You only get half of the modulation going into it. So the last bit of advice is to add an offset to your modulation signal in order to get modulation happening away from the 0 point. So in this case, we'll take the bus output from MADS, we'll take all of channel 4, and then we'll add some offset. So now our modulation to the shape control isn't happening from 0, but a place higher than 0, and that really helps open up the character and helps open up the potential for modulation going into this input. So that's more of a general tip for anything that has an attenuator on the input, but adding offset, especially in the case of the shape control, really helps. So hopefully you find this helpful. Here's a pretty cool bass tone using just the STO and a bunch of the tricks we just talked about.